If you've experienced something strange at home, this video is for you. We'll discover what happened to a family from Rawson, Chubut. And even though everything seems pretty normal and ordinary at first, as the minutes go by, it turns into something much more complex, which even ends in a totally inexplicable way. So stay until the end and tell me, what do you think? My name is Melissa. I'm 30 and from Rawson, Chubut province. And everything I'm going to tell you started in 2017, specifically between the months of September and November, at least this first and most intense experience. I remember it clearly because I was doing my residency as a future special education teacher, and it was something unforgettable that without a doubt marked my life. I was still living with my parents at the time. In the mornings, I would stay home alone while they left around 7:30 to go to work and then came back at 2 in the afternoon. For my part at that time, I was in charge of keeping things in order, cooking and cleaning our house, which is actually quite big. And I could tell you that everything started when my mom pointed out something that was mainly happening to her, or at least that's what we thought at the time. It felt like everything was going wrong for her. She fell down the stairs several times in situations that were just ridiculous. Basically, things would break without anyone touching them. She often argued with my dad and had problems at work. Things like this, which, while not unusual in all families, or are quite common. The beginning of all this was very noticeable. Practically overnight, everything was turned upside down. I believe that we are energy and that everything works in vibration. That's how it is. I suggested to my mom that she try to find someone knowledgeable in these matters to do a cleansing or harmonization for her. I think that's what it's called. She agreed, although my dad didn't. He's a totally skeptical person and completely avoids all these topics. And to understand a bit how all this started, I realized something that might have been related. Throughout my whole life, I loved the dark. In fact, I used to walk around the house ever since I was little with everything absolutely turned off. It felt like a game to me, and I liked it. As years passed, even as an adult, I did it the same way, never thinking anything bad could happen. The thing is, days before my mom told me how she felt, I had already been sensing something different in the house, and especially in myself. Something strange that I couldn't explain, but the main thing was that I didn't feel safe with the lights off, like I always did. I had the feeling that I was being watched by someone or something at all times. It's important to note this was before. About 5 or 6 days later, my mom finally told me how she was feeling. And that's when I started to think that nothing was a coincidence, that maybe everything was connected, although the question was what was happening and why. And I want to tell you an important detail. The main bathroom in the house was right in the middle of a hallway on the upper floor. At the end of this hallway, there was a mirror that my mom had had custom made. And in the middle, there were 2 small rooms, which originally were the main bedroom of the house, but later on, it was divided into 2. And I'm telling this because during those days, I had 2 extremely vivid dreams that, from my point of view, were connected to this very same issue. In the first dream, I was coming out of the bathroom. As soon as you step out, there are stairs that lead to my parents' room. I came out of the bathroom and went up the stairs. It felt like every step I took on the stairs had a block tied to my feet. I felt really heavy, and not just that. I also sensed something behind me that I couldn't see, but it scared me and was following me closely. Then I went into my parents' room. They were sleeping. I saw them clearly in bed, but there was something else that shook me to a point like never before. Near the foot of the bed, to one side, there was a black cloud that, although it didn't move, nothing happened. I felt a deep, immense terror inside me because I realized it was stalking them, mainly my mom, and it was pure evil. Why did I feel this way or describe it like this? I don't know, but that's how it was, exactly as I'm telling you. I woke up instantly and couldn't fall back asleep. In fact, since that night, it was incredibly hard for me to fall asleep at night. I had the feeling that this energy, this black cloud, was just waiting for us to let our guard down so it could attack us. A few days later, I had another nightmare. This time I stood in the dining room corner connected to the kitchen. And in the dream, I was looking toward the door of my room. I felt and sensed that same energy from the previous dream, but this time at my bedroom door. I even saw it. At that moment, I woke up again and couldn't get back to sleep. And surely it's something perfectly understandable. At this point, you must be thinking that you were influenced by the situation. A dream can be just a dream, and our brain, of course, is capable of creating things that can terrify us. But the reality is that time kept confirming that there was something more. It was in the house, and it definitely wasn't good. I made the decision to talk to my mom, and she also confessed with tears in her eyes that she was experiencing something very similar and that it was tormenting her. So that same day, she contacted a medium who did cleansing work and dealt with spiritual matters. The first thing she said when she arrived at the house was that beyond what was manifesting, she still didn't know its origin. Someone had done a spell on her so that her life, mainly in a certain way, would be unhappy. That's how it was for everyone in the house. My mom told me this because only the two of them were there that afternoon talking about all of this. She gave her a few tasks to do, and eventually everything calmed down, but only for a few days because it didn't take long for it to show up again. About a month had passed. I was doing my residency, just days away from finishing it and getting my degree, until everything was completely revealed. And I believe, in my opinion, that the presence of this woman who had come to do the cleaning intensified everything that was in the house. It made things worse instead of helping. It was provocative. That night, I went to bed, left the light on, closed the door, and behind the doorknob there was a plastic bag with some cardboard and leftover papers. It was just hanging there. I left my phone charging on the nightstand as always next to my bed and tried to sleep, but it was impossible. I spent my time reading, studying, listening to music, but I couldn't manage to close my eyes. The night passed, and in the morning I heard my parents leave for work. I hear noise outside the room. My mum opens the door, says goodbye and leaves. Seeing that it was already morning, I lay down and started to close my eyes. I wanted to try to sleep, even if just a little. My room has a huge window that faces the street, so it was all lit up with natural light. I was lying face down, with my eyes looking toward the window. I close my eyes and feel as if someone opens the door. I heard the creak and also the unmistakable sound of the bag that was left hanging. My folks were already gone. I had heard them when they closed the door and when they left in the car a few minutes earlier. I stood still, and what happened was impressive, terrifying, and paralyzing. Something climbed on top of me, on my back, on my waist, and with its weight, it was practically suffocating me. Could you think it was sleep paralysis? I don't think so, because I was awake and I could even move, but the weight was so much, even the mattress sank and I couldn't get out of the situation no matter what. It was desperate in every way, because the worst part was that I was completely alone in the house, Pele. Using all my strength, I freed myself, grabbed the charging phone and ran out. At first no one seemed to be there, but I clearly sensed something else. Strangely, the phone had been charging for hours but was off and fully out of battery. Strange, since I was sure I plugged it in and saw it charging. Did this entity cause it? I don't know, but I never forget that everything is energy and these entities are exactly looking for that. I went straight to the backyard, to the garden in the back. I was in my pajamas, barefoot, and didn't know what to do. I wanted to call my parents, especially my mom, to tell them what happened, but my phone was dead and had issues. The cordless house phone was right under the stairs. The worst place where I wouldn't dare go is where we felt this presence strongest. So I asked my grandma for strength, gathered a lot of courage, I don't know how I did it, and went to get the phone. I quickly went back to the yard and called my mom. She came right away because she believed me. It was something very important to me. She too, night after night, was going through terrifying moments, but she tried to stay as strong as possible. Without giving it any power or importance, I ended up at my other grandmother's house on my dad's side that morning. And you might think that everything ended there, but it didn't. Because something happened that terrified not just my mom and me, but nearly everyone in the family. About half an hour later, my grandma's phone, my cell phone that I managed to turn on, my dad's phone, and also my mom's phone started ringing. The incoming call, interestingly, was from our house. We all received the call at the same time. What's more, A few minutes later, my sister, who lives alone, sent me a message asking what had happened, because she was at the door and no one opened it for her. But she came closer because she received several calls, and when she answered, no one spoke. Automatically, I told her to leave because there was no one at home. To make things worse, my sister was pregnant with my first nephew, and we were trying to keep her out of it entirely. And also something else, my brother, who lives between the United States, also received the same call at the same time, and probably many more people who were connected to us. So now I would like to ask you if you still think it was his management, or maybe there was something else that was showing up. That afternoon, the medium visited to talk to my mom and me about what was happening. What we felt, what we saw, and what we dreamed. Everything was connected according to her. My mom had gone home, took several photos at this woman's request, and then showed them to her. Out of over 30 pictures, only 2 showed anything, and 1 truly shocked us. There was a dark shadow, completely black, almost as tall as the door to my parents' room. It was the same shadow I saw in my dreams. Unfortunately, I don't have the photos because this woman advised us to delete everything completely to avoid any kind of contact. In the other picture, my mom took a photo directly of the hallway where the mirror was in front of her. Do you remember what I said earlier? In the mirror, you see her reflection, but beside and behind her, there was something, not just a shadow. This time, it was a person, an entity. It was something, I don't know, but it was tall, with bulging eyes, watching behind my mom out of the corner of its eye, as if it was looking at the camera. And even though it didn't have defined features, I could describe it as a man. And its eyes didn't have eyelids, they were just 2 big white balls with pupils. That afternoon she went home alone. No one could enter because she planned to eliminate the entity for good. A few hours later we came back home, we went in, and I immediately smelled a very strong scent at my bedroom door. Not of rot. It wasn't a bad smell, more like herbs or strong plants mixed with sulfur or something else. I imagined this woman had smoked the house, and that explained the smell, though I was never certain. Fortunately, thanks to this woman, everything calmed down from that day on. Actually, there's an important detail I haven't mentioned yet. In my room, there were 2 damp stains that, according to my old man, were due to structural issues. It was incredible that from that very day, they practically disappeared as if by magic. According to this woman, when we asked her, each of these stains represented and also served as a kind of portal for these entities. Many times it happens without people knowing, and the proof was that they disappeared without anyone touching them. Sometime later, I graduated, continued studying, and moved into an apartment, and this is where my second experience takes place. In 2009, I suddenly began experiencing the well-known sleep paralysis. To clarify, I never got involved in strange things, went to cemeteries, did witchcraft, or associated with people who did. I was just a studious girl with a degree, and suddenly I started dealing with all these things again, but this time I was alone. And I'd like to tell you a detail that might be important. I have a mirror that was a gift from my nonna to my parents at their wedding. I kept it because my grandmother was a loving, patient, empathetic person, the best in the world, and she had no malice at all. But maybe, and I would like to know your opinion about this, I made the mistake of placing this mirror on the floor at the foot of my bed, reflecting directly at me. That's how one time I woke up, I was lying on my side facing the wall, and when I tried to move, I realized I couldn't. I realized the situation I was in and desperately tried to get out of this state. But I hear a voice next to my ear saying the following: "Give me your hand. Don't ask me why or how, because I swear I couldn't move." But my arm, as if by magic, falls to one side. My body was still facing the wall, and I feel someone take my hand. I didn't see him, but I pictured my grandfather's face. My grandfather Tano was an immigrant with large, rough hands from a lifetime in construction. That's how this big, thick-fingered hand felt. See, in just a few seconds, everything calmed down. But the question was always the same. Was it my grandfather who showed up for some reason? I think I'll never know. I told this to my friend, and she was the one who scolded me. Because mirrors can work as portals that often attract dark entities. And I also had lucid dreams, some extremely terrifying, where there were people with a cadaverous appearance, liquids similar to tar, in which I couldn't walk. I was in situations that were both clear and confusing, which left me feeling that way. I spent days trying to find an explanation that never came. Luckily today, living in the same apartment, I'm at peace and without any kind of paranormal activity, no sleep paralysis or terrifying situations either. I hope it stays that way. Friends, thanks for making it to the end. You can send your paranormal experiences to the WhatsApp number shown on screen. It doesn't matter how many or how long your voice messages are. Add photos, videos, or anything you need to make your story complete. Then, if your story is selected and I have any questions, I'll be reaching out to you. I'm also letting you know that starting this Monday, the store will be available again, so you can request the catalog with no obligation. To the WhatsApp number shown on the screen, note, is different from the experiences number. And I also ask you to stay tuned because there are giveaways coming up. Not one, not two, but 3 giveaways, where you could win an exclusive t-shirt. They will only be available for the giveaway, where the winner will have the chance to get this unique design. Keep in mind that they will be done through 3 different platforms, one on YouTube, through this channel as always, another on Spotify, and another on Instagram. If you don't follow me, you'll miss out. That way, you can participate and enter this giveaway, which will most likely take place around the middle or end of next week. Thank you to all the channel members who joined. There are so many of us. And of course to everyone who supports the channel in any way, like through Cafecito or PayPal. Sharing the videos, leaving a like, commenting, or simply watching the episodes all the way to the end, right up to the last second. Friends, I'm signing off. See you in a few days, and now I'm sending a big hug to all of you. Bye.